May 8th Transportation Forum today is entitled Car Free and Carefree, Maintaining Your Independence by Utilizing Local Transportation Options. My name is Jeff Kelbach. I'm the aging specialist with Johnson County, and I am a staff liaison with the Johnson County Livable Communities. This is our second forum this month for Older Americans Month. I have a whole listing on our website, livablecommunity.org, and I have plenty of flyers here as well for those events that are coming up, which will be next week. We'll have AARP's Power the 50-Plus Voter. May 23rd will be Powerful Tools and Finances for Caregivers. May 31st we'll be doing a community dialogue, and then we also have a series for our Aging in Place Housing Action Team put together. That's going on for 6 months. The first session was last week, so if you missed that, that's okay. There's still 5 more sessions that will be dealing with certain topics within aging in place. Also, there's lots of materials here from many of the panelists and myself. There's some giveaways. I see some people have grabbed the jar openers. Those are the best, so I recommend taking one. It also has the website listed on there as well. If you're interested and you didn't get a chance to sign in, please sign in. Also, the opportunity to sign up for our newsletter that we have come out quarterly. Well, the purpose of today's forum, obviously I've seen a dramatic increase in the over 65 population. In this community, that population has risen faster than any other age cohort, nearly tripling the next age cohort. So in that, we want to know what is available to help older adults with transportation issues and what may be coming along in the future to assist them. Our panelists today, Rosemary Schwartz, she is from Elder Services. She's the RSVP director. Kelly Schneider, the mobility coordinator for Johnson County. Vicky Robrock, the Coralville Transit Director. Darian Nagle-Gamm, Iowa City Transit Director. Tom Brase, Johnson County Seats Director. And Terry Donahue, the Mayor of North Liberty. Thank you all for being here. I think instead of listening to me talk forever, I'm going to turn it over to Rosemary and let us get started here.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm Rosemary Schwartz, and I am the RSVP Director for Elder Services. RSVP stands for Retired Senior Volunteer Program. And what I do is I connect people age 55 and older with volunteer opportunities around the community. And one of those, and one of our major ones, is the Medical Transportation Program. And what that does, it's a free program to people who need to get from their home and to their medical appointments. And they give me a call. We have a little one-page registration form for them to use, nothing, just regular who they are and that type of thing. And then when I get that notice that they need a ride, then I send it out via email to my about 25 drivers that I have. And if one of those drivers are available, then they will email me back, and I will set that up with the driver and also with the person who's looking for that service. The person who picks up, we usually allow a half hour before the appointment is due so that people have time to get to the appointment and park and all that kind of stuff. And then unless it's a long appointment, the volunteer will stay at the facility, whether it's the doctor's office or wherever, until after the appointment is over with, and then they'll take them back home. And so it's very personalized service, making sure that they are safe getting into their vehicles and also when they get back. Speaking of vehicles, the volunteers use their own personal vehicles, and we have an insurance policy that we have out on the for the volunteers. If something would happen and their insurances don't cover everything, then this would kick in as a supplemental. We have that as a little perk. We do offer mileage to our volunteers if they would like to turn in their mileage. The RSVP has medical transportation here in the Johnson County area, also in West Liberty and in Burlington. And most of the people, most of the volunteers here do not get the mileage reimbursement, but they take it off their income taxes, as long as we can deduct it. We'll see about that. But we, like I said, it's a free service. And we do take donations if anybody's interested in, and the going rate, so to speak, that we try to tell people is $5 one way or $10 a round trip, and that is strictly whether they want to donate or not. A little bit of the numbers. For the last 12 months, from 4/1 of 17 until the end of April of this year, for Johnson County only, we supplied 222 rides, and I have 143 clients on my database. However, not all those utilize the program, but there's about 40 or 50 people that use that on a regular basis, which is really nice to see. I've also seen, and I think part of it is getting the word out about our service, but I'm seeing more doctors' offices and care coordinators contacting me for their patients. I received one this morning from the Mercy Oncology, a new client that we're going to be trying to get some transportation for. So this is a really good program. The people are very pleased with the program. It is a vital source for people that just, they can't afford those taxi rides, or it's inappropriate to try to get through bus lines. They need that extra little personal care, and it's something that really is important, and we get a lot of feedback from people. I do think there's room to grow for it, and I'd be more than happy to speak to ways that we can do that. So, in conclusion, I'd just like to say this is a two-pronged situation where we have clients that need that service, and we also need volunteers to help drive that are over 55. So, and I should say that the volunteers all go through a cursory background check, so there's hopefully no issues there, and we've been very fortunate not to even have any accidents so far. With our people, so we're very, very happy about that. So I will now turn it over to Kelly.
All right. Thank you, Rosemary. Can everybody hear me okay over there? Okay, great. I'm Kelly Schneider. I'm the mobility coordinator. My position is fairly new. I had been in position for a little over a year now. I'm housed in the Johnson County Social Services Department at the Johnson County Health and Human Services building. So I get to work alongside Jeff, and then I also have a lot of support from the community. Iowa DOT, Coralville, also Iowa City helps support my position. So it's my role to be the single point of contact for transportation-related education, referrals, and outreach. So I spent a lot of the first year getting to know the community and connecting with groups, understanding what their transportation needs are, and kind of taking an inventory of what transportation resources exist in the area. So I've done a lot of different things. I have a lot of different educational documents that I've created. They are over here on this table, but they're also available on my website, which I can share with you guys, which is also on the printed material over there. Some of the different things that I've done is one-on-one travel training with individuals that would like to learn how to ride the bus for the first time, and then also group training sessions for groups of people that would like to learn how to ride the bus. We call that how to ride training. I've been to a couple of different places doing that so far, but a couple of those are senior housing units, so it's pretty exciting to see seniors learn how to use the bus and how to take advantage of some of the discounts. So that's also a big part of the education that I do, is informing the community of what discounts are available to ride public transit. So a few other things I was going to say is it's my primary goal to promote public transit and increase the awareness of that through education. So I am focused on increasing mobility for low-income persons, persons with disability, and elderly, of course. But anybody's welcome to use my services. So I'm pretty flexible in how I can use my position. I've done a lot of trip planning for people. Like I said, helping people get connected with discounts, doing group sessions. So really any senior could reach out to me for any need. Like I said, I'm a huge advocate for public transit, but sometimes referrals may go to programs such as Rosemary or other programs that are in the community, which I'm going to kind of do a shout out for here. Some of the future goals that I have is to work on developing some educational videos. I think it would be helpful to have a video of how to ride the bus or what it's like to get on the bus if you have a walker or a wheelchair or what that process looks like so somebody can have that visual moment of what that looks like. So I also would like to translate all of my materials into languages that would be pertinent to Johnson County. Right now they're all available in English, but I think there's some room to expand the knowledge and reach those that maybe don't have English as their first language. Another goal that we have is working with Johnson County Seats to see and explore what we can do to increase ridership and availability of services in the rural community. So we're still in the discovery phase of that right now. We don't know what that's going to look like, but it is kind of on the table to see what can be done. Another exciting thing that I'm going to start here in the second year is actually taking groups on the bus and doing a practice trip where we go to a destination and come back. So I think there's no better way than to actually ride the bus is the best way to practice. So yeah. As far as seniors, some of the different things I can do is help people learn how to use Bongo, how to use the technology aspect of that, pull up the routes on their smartphone, all that good stuff, see what it looks like to read the schedules, plan your trip out, things like that, or how to use some of the different transportation resources available in the area. If a senior's interested in learning how to ride the bus and they want to do a one-on-one travel training session with me, I'm welcome to do that with them as well. I was going to talk a little bit about some of the other resources that are available in the community. I do have a resource guide, which I can kind of hold up for now, but it's in the back room. This resource guide is posted on the Johnson County Social Services website, so it looks like this, which is kind of small, but it's basically an inventory of all of the resources that are in the area. So if there's and already there's some new things that are popping around. So this is the 2018 version, and if you guys know of new resources, keep in contact with me and I will definitely get those added. But some of the ones I just wanted to do a little bit of a shout out for so that people were aware of was the American Cancer Society. They do a curbside to curbside transportation, which is very similar to Rosemary's program. So that would be for cancer patients getting their cancer appointments. I already talked about Bongo. What Bongo does is it's GPS-based predictions on when the bus is arriving. Then you can also use the website to look up where the routes are, where the bus is on the route, and how to connect throughout the community. The other thing that's on the inventory is Corridor Rides. So Corridor Rides also has a carpool matching platform, and then it also does van pool for employees. I can also give information on both Uber and Lyft if anybody wanted that education and what that looked like. There's information for Zipcar on here. Trail of Johnson County, which is another volunteer-based program, but that's for memberships of Trail, and I think we maybe have somebody from Trail here in the audience that could better explain that. Also Yellow Cab, Roger Bradley is here, and they offer a 10% discount for seniors, so that's something I wanted people to know about. I'm happy to talk further with anybody about these different resources or how to get connected with them. I'm very flexible on how I can serve seniors, so it's just a matter of reaching out to me so I know what I can do. And that's all I have.
Good afternoon. I represent Coralville Transit. We serve the Coralville metropolitan area, as well as we provide under contract service for North Liberty, which is kind of a commuter type service in the AM and PM. And I won't steal your thunder, Mayor. I'll let you explain a little, a little bit about that. So we offer to all of our fixed route a senior or disabled bus pass for our Coralville residents. They can ride our service anytime for free, peak or off-peak, as long as you have that pass. If you have a Medicare card or another transit agency's card, this senior, as well as if you're a visitor, we can make arrangements as well to accommodate that. We have passes that we can make up for them. So if you have someone in that's a senior that's visiting, we can make sure we can get them a pass as well. As far as another piece that we offer, which is our Johnson County seats, our ADA paratransit, Tom actually provides that for us. The thing about paratransit services, unfortunately, age isn't necessarily a determining factor. There is an eligibility process, which involves an application and to be certified. I guess one of the things that I would like to point out is many people feel like they can't use our bus because they can't access it. All of our 40-foot mass transit buses are all lift and ramp equipped, so anybody should be able to use them and access them as long as they can get to the bus stops. And I think some of that is where Kelly plays a large part in helping people understand how they travel and commute to those locations to be able to ride the bus. We often struggle and we often hear problems with transferring to Iowa City, and that's one of the things we're trying to work on to make a little bit easier and a little bit more seamless. Right now, I think we're all struggling with road construction and everything that's playing a part in that. But as hopefully things start to settle down and we all get to a better place and we all appreciate the new roads that we have in place, we're hoping that things will get to a more consistent manner. Otherwise, I guess that's all I have as far as the services and stuff that we offer.
In Iowa City, we also have several discounts that are available for our seniors. We have a senior pass that is available to those who are age 60 or over, and those are half fare rides. You can also show your Medicare card and get a half fare ride upon entry to our buses. We do also have a disabled pass, which does require some review by a physician to maintain your eligibility, and that does provide free off-peak rides. And similarly, we also have and that is for, again, as Vicky mentioned, that's unfortunately, disabilities affect all of us, so that is whether you're 20, 30, 40, 90, 110, you would still be able to apply for that disabled pass. We also have a senior and low-income pass that does also offer free off-peak rides, and there's also an eligibility process with that. We do also have a reduced fare bus pass, just a monthly reduced fare bus pass that does have an income eligibility qualifier, and that does reduce the rate for that monthly fare. And lastly, as Vicky mentioned, we do provide paratransit service, complimentary paratransit service, or we contract it. We do not provide it, but through Tom Brase and the Seeds organization. So they do provide the paratransit services for the city of Iowa City. So that's it.
I'm Tom Brase with Johnson County Seats. Seats has been around for over 40 years.
Bring your microphone closer.
Okay. We've been around for over 40 years. And so it's been around in the community, and the community's been up on all that stuff. In 1993, they came out with the Americans with Disabilities Act. And then we started working with Iowa City and Coralville for providing that extra service. But we really have been collaborating with Iowa City, Coralville, and now North Liberty and University Heights to provide paratransit service throughout the community for wherever there's a fixed route. We serve 3/4 of a mile from that fixed route anywhere. And there is an eligibility for that process, and you can get the eligibility applications on each of the city's websites, or you could go to johnson-county.com, and you go under departments and under seats, and you can find eligibility line, and then you click on that, and then you'll click on the applications. It'll go to the links to their cities. So there is that. We also offer general public service in the rural county. So we're out there for anybody in the rural Johnson County outside of the fixed route service. We do that 3 times a week, and it's from 8:30 to 4:30 in the different areas, depending on the area. Ridership at Johnson County continues to stay consistent in the last 3 years. It hasn't grown where it had been growing for the last 20 years. It's been growing quite significantly, but the last 3 years it's staying about the same. I would contribute that a little bit to managed care organizations. It's challenging for us in our office to do trips, and it's a lot more work for our doing that, but we refer people who have Medicaid to them because they can get free trips for the managed care organization. So July fiscal year 2017, which is July 1st, 2016 through June 30th, 2017, Johnson County provided 125,840 trips. This year, we're looking about the same amount of number, around 126,000 trips that we will provide. We reach out and we refer people to Kelly, but we also can answer any questions for any seniors or whatever we could do for you. So that's what Johnson County Seat's here for.
I was going to give you all my time. You were doing great. What does North Liberty have? Yeah, okay. It's the truth. The thing is we do depend on Coralville for morning and evening service. We also depend on seats for services from them. From that point, we don't have a cotton-picking thing. Now, the thing is that it's not an issue that we haven't tried. We had a transportation committee that worked extremely hard previous to the one that we have now. And they tried to develop a fixed route in-town service. And frankly, it got too expensive when you're figuring that you're subsidizing $200+ a trip. Not sustainable, not economically feasible. I hated like the devil to approach the council to cancel that, but we had to. We have reconstituted the committee. This committee has, I have to give them credit, has tried to overturn any stone that they think might be a viable option. We have evaluated our own service again. We have evaluated, do we want to do something with Coralville? We evaluated, do we want to use a Uber service? Also, we are now down to the point, after sifting through everything, that we are going to go to a strictly on-demand service. And what I mean by on-demand, you call, somebody comes and gets you. The thing is that we're looking for seats to fill a certain portion of that on one side, and locally, be frankly about it, we're working with Yellow Cab as far as doing on-demand service anytime during the average work day. And it's not going to only be tied to seniors, but to low-income people, single moms, and just like I said, seniors. But the thing is that when you look at our budget, we are in a better position charging that rider $1 or $2 a trip, and we'll eat the other $6 to $10. Compared to the other one, that's a bargain that we've had before. I think we're starting to get closer. I think as we finally determine the rules and the final contracts, whatever, we're going to implement this on a very go slow basis, because there are priorities of populations that need it far worse than most other people. And that's the way that we look at. So it might take tier 1, 2, 3, 4 tiers to do it, But we'll do each instead of just grouping the whole thing and say, I hope it works. Usually when we do that, it's not going to work. So where are we at? That's where we're at. The thing is, it's very interesting that when we look at North Liberty as a suburban community, and it really is a truly suburban community, people still love to drive their own cars. And it's hard to get them to think about in terms of mass transportation. With mom and dad both working, they have kids in school or in activities of this, that, and whatever, they don't want to mess with mass transportation. They have their own schedules that they adhere to. One of the most recent comments that I heard from our pantry on the other side of the coin is, well, the service that we had was okay, but people, when they came to the pantry, didn't want to wait 45 minutes for the next bus. Okay, well, that contributed to the problem as well. So to give you anything definitive, I can't. As far as give you direction that we're trying to work into, I can.
All right, thank you all. I appreciate your comments. We are to the question and answer session. So if anybody has any questions, we have note cards. Carolyn in the back has those. You can hand them to her. She'll discreetly sneak them to me, and we'll read your questions off. First question I have, I'm going to assume this is for Vicky and Darian. Are senior discount passes available only at off-peak times? And what are the off-peak times, or peak times, I suppose?
I suppose that would be free. So in Iowa City, yes, the free passes are only during off-peak hours, and it's been, historically, it's been that way for some time. I've been on board in this role for about 3 months, so, and some of the folks that work on staff who've been there for quite some time said it's been like that for a very long time, and presumably it was related to the, or when it was originally, when the off-peak requirement was originally enacted, it was due to the demand for space during the peak hours. And so it did not preclude anyone from riding during the peak hours. There was a decision at one point that the free passes would only become available for use during the off-peak. Now, what I can say is the City of Iowa City is going to be undertaking a fairly comprehensive transit study for the first time in maybe the entire program, the transit program in Iowa City, certainly since the 1970s. And it's going to be the first time transit will be comprehensively reviewed. And this will be the passes, the past timeframes, in addition to things like the routes, how we can improve service hours, things like that. This will be one of the things that we've heard from folks that they'd like us to reevaluate. So we're going to be reevaluating that when the study begins in earnest this summer. It will probably take, I'm going to say, 6, maybe a little bit longer months. It's going to be a pretty comprehensive study, but the hours and the timeframes for our passes is something we're going to evaluate.
Is it 9 to 3?
It is, oh yes, so the second part of that question was what were the hours? So the off-peak hours are 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. and then after 6:30 in the evening. So it's basically the midday, the long midday, 9 a.m. to 3:30, and then in the evening, after the evening rush, 6:30.
Thank you, Darian. Terry, I have a question about North Liberty here.
That's what I was afraid of.
Yeah, I know. I was going to throw it out, but I thought we had you here. Why not? Is the North Liberty demand call service, is it intended only for rides in North Liberty, or is it for appointments, doctor's appointments, say in Coralville or outer areas?
We were looking initially at North Liberty itself and looking to incorporate Coral Ridge Mall area. The thing about medical appointments, we've had thrown at us that scene has changed with University of Iowa Hospital Family Care Center leaving North Liberty. Those medical services are going to be farther out. And we'll still take a look at how we can best pursue those, but it's putting a crimp in our plans right now.
Understandable. I have another one for you, but I'll wait till later. I'll give you a breather. This one's
I'm
for-
gonna slide this over here.
This one is for each one of the panelists, if you're willing to answer this. But what do you think is the highest unmet need? Anybody want to start us off? Don't all jump at it now. All right, I'll call on somebody then. I can do that. Rosemary, you're first here, so by proxy.
Because I work with the senior population, that's where I see the need, because as people age, they either should not be driving, even if they are still driving. And this traffic down here is difficult for us, even younger people sometimes. So I'd hate to have someone out on the road that doesn't have the reflexes that they have. And also that it just is not conducive for people to get to and from their medical appointments. We get a lot of people that need that type of a service in order so they can remain healthy. I mean, it's one step to keeping seniors in their homes as long as they possibly can. And transportation is something that if they don't have and they can't make it to their physicians and keep their, keep their medical situation in a good repair, then it becomes even a worse problem. So on that side, I think for me, it is just being able to provide that service that is low cost. That's the other thing, is taxis are very expensive, and so we have a population that's a lot of people that live on fixed incomes and really need the type of service that we offer. So, and I should tell you that we do serve North Liberty. I'm picking up more North Liberty clients, and I have more North Liberty drivers, and so we're looking to expand that. So hopefully that'll help a little bit.
Good, thank you.
Kelly, the same question. What do you think is the highest unmet need? Now you've had more time to prepare, so
Okay.
you all have now.
Sure, no problem. So one of the most challenging aspects that I've seen to my position so far is the public transit fixed routes at this time are, for the most part, meeting the needs. I think we're going to see a lot of some of the issues of the growing community be solved through this transit study, so I'm putting a lot of faith and hope into that. Some of the difficult ones that I get would be getting people to services that are outside of the county, or people that live outside of the county coming into the county for health care. That's probably one of the more challenging components that I see. I have, again, there's great things coming for the future. The RFP was just released for the express route between Iowa City and Cedar Rapids. So hopefully that will be starting sometime in the year to come. I'm not exactly sure what the start date is on that, but I think that will help people have more connectivity between both Lynn County and Johnson County. So I know there's a lot of people in this room, in the community, that are looking forward to being fluid between this whole region, and I think that will really help pave the way for that. So,
Thank you. Vicky?
I think
Yes, you better do that. Eric will yell at you otherwise.
one of the biggest concerns that we see is maybe employment opportunities, and that can be for everyone. Given the community that we live in and the different shifts that we have, I think sometimes it's challenging for late night type employment and being able to take public transportation to and from. Maybe they can get to work during our hours, but maybe it's a challenge to get home. So I think that's one of the struggles that we see.
Sure. Darian?
I would echo what Vicky says, but I would add sort of separately that just generally speaking, frequency and finding a balance between frequency and coverage, meaning we can't get to all nook and crannies of the metro area like we would like to, and then maintain the frequency with our buses that riders sort of rely on, because it'd be ideal if we could go to bus stops and you didn't really have to worry about when the next bus was coming along. You knew it was going to come along. But there's a balance between coverage and frequency that I think we're hoping to get at in our transit study to be able to get a better balance there. So in those two things, I think there's much feedback we hear from people that either we're not getting enough coverage in one area or the frequency is not really ideal. So we're hoping with the transit study that we can get those better balanced.
Tom?
Well, Johnson County seats where we see is a lot of same-day trip requests that we can't meet because we got the schedules all out there. And a lot of those people that are requesting those things may be in wheelchair, and we don't have any cab services with any wheelchair vehicles. So I think that's one of the things that I feel the community is missing out on. If we can't do a same-day service or same-day trip, then how do they get a trip to someplace? So.
What we've been looking at principally has been medical. We've been looking at the single parents, especially ones who have children in school, and I'll tell you why. Because when that school nurse calls, you got a sick kid there, you don't have any way to get him. We want to be able to have that parent have transportation to get that child and get him to medical treatment or to home. And the thing is the lower income. These to me are three different styles of people and their social economic conditions which need to be addressed. Another thing is, what's been said before, second and third shift employees. Man, that is a tough nut to crack. The thing is that what I'm trying to pin some hopes on is with Corridor Rides, they have the van pool program, is to talk to a couple of our local employers and say, why don't you try it? I mean, it's a heck of a deal. You get a van from Enterprise, and the thing is ECOG will pay the first $500 of the $900 lease, and we're saying, and this is for a month, and then to the employer, if you can subsidize $400 a month to get a van pool go for your employees, isn't that going to help you out? Will that not stabilize your workforce? If it doesn't work, the employer has the right to cut it off because it's only a month-to-month type of program. So, I mean, these are the type of things that we're trying to look at and accomplish.
Can I add one more thing?
Yes, yes.
Funds. If I'm going to mention something that we don't have, it's like sort of the funds. The vehicles that we've driven around for years and the expansion of vehicle services, we're short. So, thank you.
And to that point, to have something that is, that you could put wheelchairs on, that adds another layer of support, funding needs there.
I'm glad you both said that. I just had a caller the other day that was attempting to get from the Cedar Rapids airport down to this area for a high school reunion, and they needed an accessible transportation, and there wasn't a lot of options for that. I ended up making referrals to businesses that were not based out of Johnson County. A good handful of them came from Lynn County, and it's a pretty costly service to provide. So I'm not sure if that individual was able to make that happen, but that is kind of one of the realities we're facing. So, especially for your patients that need to get to their appointments too.
That's kind of a segue. This question for whoever wants to take it or multiple people. Is a regional transit authority in the near future? I know, once again, I'll let you process it. I'll try and banter here for a little bit, but I really need you to answer the question at some point. Somebody, if they're willing to try and see, is a regional transit authority in the near future?
Okay, I'll try it.
All right, thanks, Terry.
It's not impossible, but it's probably highly improbable. The reason being is that CAMBus has a different type of services that they run versus Coralville has their services. CAMBus uses students. Coralville is union. And Iowa City, I'm not so sure what that one is. It's kind of in the middle. And it's really trying to get three divergent populations and operations together. That's going to be very, very difficult. Not saying it's impossible, but it's going to have to take a lot of talking.
Anybody have anything to add to that? Terry, apparently you covered that very well then.
Can I go home now?
Close. I got a couple more for you here. 5, 6, 7, 8 more. No. Iowa City senior passes require both a pass and correct change. Is there a way where a pass with money value can a pass with money value be started to avoid this downside?
That's something that we're going to be taking a look at in the transit study. And actually, I just had a conversation about that today when I was, like I said, I've been on board for about 3 months, so I'm getting familiar with all the ins and outs of all the passes. Been a transit rider for some time, but I haven't taken advantage of all these passes. And I actually asked that very question today. I said, is the senior pass, is there funds on that pass, or is this just a pass that enables you to get that discount? And when they explained to me, no, that's just what enables you to get that discount, I thought to myself, so it's a two-step process, and maybe there's a way that we can simplify that. So that's one of the things we're going to be, with all of our passes, we're going to take a look at that through our process and see how we can simplify things and make it a little bit more user-friendly.
Kelly, I have a question specifically for you, so everybody else take a breather. With your service, would you anticipate working with the multiple for-profit independent senior living facilities, to get them to improve their transportation services for their own residents? I know that many of them have buses, but limited use.
You said for-profit?
For-profit, so those independent assisted living
Right.
facilities, maybe facilities such as Legacy.
Sure.
Who else? They had one listed on here, Bridgewater, which will be a new
Right,
facility.
right.
I know there are several of them in the community.
So I think it's definitely worth having a conversation with those types of places. I have not had any contact with those types of housing units so far, and I think I understand what you're saying is they have their vans or transportation fleet that they use strictly in-house. And I'm not sure, I think this would be a great conversation to have in the Iowa Mobility Management Network, where we get together and talk with the other mobility managers and see what maybe other mobility managers are doing throughout the country, and see what approaches are happening in that direction. But I think it's definitely worth exploring. Kind of along that line, people have mentioned before, what about the church vans? You know, maybe those only were used a couple of days a week. What about the rest of the days? So I think it's worth exploring to see what can be done there.
Darian and Vicky, Iowa City and Coralville Transit do not honor each other's 10-day and 20-trip passes. Probably the first time you ever heard this stuff. So a person that how can they get to a job interview or appointment, or if they can get to it, how can they? Is there a way that you guys will be able to work together in the future to fix this issue? I suppose of being able to utilize those between services.
Want me to try it?
Sure. Vicky, by all means.
So the majority of the passes we do honor within our two systems. There are a handful, which the 10 ride and 20 ride are two of them that we don't. So it is a little bit of a challenge. Obviously, going to an appointment isn't a problem because you use it on whatever service and you ask for a free transfer and that's given. The point we're struggling with is on the return trip. And we have had some discussions, and we continue to look at that to see if there's a way that on the back side of those passes, we figure out how we take care of that issue. We just, to date, have not been able to find a successful way to do that yet.
All right, thank you. All right, Terry, you're back up. This individual submitted that their understanding that the North Liberty bus ran midday from 10 to 2-ish, generally non-peak hours. Was consideration given to offering services earlier in the morning or later in the afternoon?
No, the committee at that time felt it was be the best one based on the hours when the pantry was open in conjunction with other businesses like Fairway Food Stores and whatever.
Is the committee, I guess, discussing that at this point then, going forward, of other hours?
On fixed route, I doubt it.
I don't know if it's, well, I guess that would probably be the question.
I doubt
It's a
it.
fixed route. All right. You guys are up again, Darian and Vicky. I think this kind of piggybacks on your last question. I think they may be able to talk about some of the things you guys do partner well together with, but how can Iowa City and Coralville Transit work together to provide a more seamless experience for riders?
You want to take this one, or do you want me to?
Go right ahead, Vicky.
Okay.
She's probably got more experience in knowing some of the pitfalls between the
So,
two.
like I mentioned previously, there are literally a handful of passes that we do not accept of one another's. All of our university passes, student and faculty staff, our 31-day, the senior disabled passes, all of those are mutually honored on each other's systems. The 2 or 3 that I can think of right now is the single ride, the 10 and the 20 ride that are kind of the hiccup in our issue between transferring between the two systems. Like I mentioned earlier, we offer free transfers always between the systems. So for the majority of the people, that catches most of them. Unfortunately, there's this small population that we're still trying to figure out how we can make that work.
Well, this one's kind of open for everybody. Where do you see the role of technology impacting services in the future? Tom, you look like you're ready to
Yeah,
take
I'm
it.
ready
Go
to
for it.
on that. Seats is going to be coming out shortly with an IVR system for phoning out. We'll be phoning to people who are riders the night before about their trips, letting them know when their trip is coming and everything. An option to be able to plug in and on the phone and say, no, I had other plans, I want to cancel. So that'll be all taken care of over the phone call. The phone call system will also work if you wanted like a 10-minute reminder before the trip or the vehicle would get there, and it would call out for that. So there's innovation in that to help people out and help the no-show problems here at Johnson County Seats. We also are working on our online trip scheduling. You can go onto our website, click on an online trip, and it'll have a form, and the form is going to be more of a required field, and it will duplicate itself for if you wanted a return trip or to progress with the trips. So it's a lot easier to start scheduling trips too. So
Anybody else want to add? Kelly?
I can chime in. I think a big part of my role is helping people learn how to use those technological advances that are available, whether it's Bongo or trip planners or anything like that. I'm happy to walk people through that process, provide some group trainings, tutorials types things. And then one other comment I wanted to make, and I don't think we've ever talked about this before, and I know there's a couple other systems in Iowa that use mobile ticketing for their fares. I think that some of the attraction to services like Uber or Lyft, you can just pick up your phone. You never have to talk to anybody. You just click a couple of buttons, and there you go. The car shows up at your door. I think right now, where our pass sale outlets, we cover a pretty good spectrum, but I think that this just makes it that much easier. And looking at the generations ahead of time, they're completely attached to their phones. So I hope that's something that's on the table someday. So, and when it is, I'll help people figure that out. So give me a call.
Yes, so I think ultimately ticketless boarding or any smartphone type boarding for transit buses, I think at some point will be, in place. I think that's sort of the wave of the future. So that's one future thing that I expect will come to Iowa City at some point. Also, we use the Bongo application to help. We call it AVL. It's an automatic vehicle locator. Or it's a GPS type system to help people know when the buses are going to arrive, and that's relatively new. But there's also more ways that are coming in the future for some trip planning purposes. We used to have on our Bongo website a way that you could, here's location 1, this is where I'm at, and this is location 2, this is where I want to be. Which buses do I take to get there? What time are they at the stops? And how do I access those routes? And that feature with the technological change on the back end, went away on the website. However, we're working with some consultants right now to get our transit ridership route information up on Google Maps. So if any of you use Google Maps to make a trip, you just plunk in address number 1, which is where you're at, and then you're going to go visit your friend in Des Moines, or we'll say cross town for transit purposes, cross town, and ideally what would happen is Google would just tell you which transit routes to take, and would have information on stops and times and things like that. So it's an application that many people are already familiar with. It would just be an easy way to use it. And again, to Kelly's point, we have a lot of smartphone friendly advanced users in this community, and so I think that will be something to look forward to in the future, in the near future, hopefully. But that will help people with their transit routing.
I think those are all fine answers. I was hoping that there would be flying cars, though, that we could talk about. All right. How can public transit stay competitive with the transportation network companies such as Uber and Lyft? Anybody want to take that one?
I have a couple comments on that. I think one of the things that's become pretty apparent is that transit services and transit organizations need to improve service levels. And to Tom's point, and I didn't mention this earlier, but that my point about how we're trying to find a balance between coverage in terms of getting those transit buses out into the nooks and crannies of the community, and then frequency, meaning that people want them to come at ideally a higher rate of service. The reason we can't do that is because we don't have unlimited funds. So there's this balance. We have this balance that we need to meet because of funding. So I think finding ways, like we're trying to do in Iowa City, at least with this transit study, that we can improve our system and improve our levels of service will be one way that we can have success in increasing transit ridership and just making it a real and more feasible option for people in the community.
To piggyback a little bit on what Darian just said, I think besides being able to accomplish that balance, I think it's not necessarily always a competitive thing. It can also be, we can work together, whereas, a transit system only goes so far, but maybe Lyft or Uber can provide that last mile service to get them from point A to their final destination. So I think not only, I don't necessarily look at it as a competitive thing. I look at it as more a partnership with them.
Thank you. I feel like I'm picking on you two in particular here with the questions, but how many low ramp or kneeling buses are in your fleet? And maybe you can explain to people what a low ramp or a kneeling bus is.
So for Coralville, we have 10 fixed route buses. We just replaced 4. So currently 9 of ours are low floor, and we still have one phantom bus that remains.
I can't tell you the numbers off the top of my head, but I can tell you that we have 20-some buses, and by the end of May, we will be replacing 12 of them, and those will all be kneeling buses, so they'll all be the low floor. And I believe that will leave a majority low floor buses in our fleet.
Thank you. Can you guys talk about what it's like to board the bus if you have a mobility device, whether it's a cane or a walker or even a scooter or wheelchair? And I promise this is the last question I have here, so unless somebody else has one in the audience, get it in now.
Well, for seats, it may be sometimes more challenging than it is for a fixed route, because the floor, we have more steps going up for a paratransit vehicle than they do for the fixed route. The floors are seamless. There's no hitches or anything to trip on, which are nice. We use the wheelchair lift quite a bit, and in Iowa City, majority of our trips are filled with wheelchair. So that's what we use, and that's where we benefit.
I guess I would comment on the fixed route buses. Already, they are lower in the front for boarding, but then we have the additional feature of kneeling, so we get almost to curb level. if that isn't something someone can do, we certainly have the ramp that can be deployed. Much safer, way less maintenance for us. I think way more user-friendly for our passengers. And that's why we were very excited when we replaced these last 4 buses, because our fleet then was about 90%, obviously, low floor versus the old lifts that combine into the steps that are cumbersome and more mechanical failures than what we see with the ramps.
We do offer one more thing, though. We go door to door.
Certainly a nice feature, yes.
That is a nice feature.
Agreed.
That is a nice feature.
Well, I want to thank the Johnson County Livable Community Transportation Action Team for putting this forum together, and Carolyn and Rosemary are co-chairing that committee. And Rosemary, would you be able to give people information if they'd like to join that committee or learn more about when we're meeting next?
Sure. We always are looking for input from the public and also people that would like to just share their ideas. Our next meeting will be August 14th at 8:30 a.m. at the Iowa City, yeah, that town over there. Iowa City Public Library. In addition to that, I am on the board, and Carolyn is too, of the Johnson County Livable Communities. And there are many opportunities for, you don't have to be long on the board, but be community volunteers to do with a lot of different areas that they have. They have a housing team, they have a communications team. I'm going to forget some of these. Fall prevention. And so they're constantly looking for people that would like to attend those, and the more we have involved, the more things we can do and more things we can accomplish. And so if you're interested, get on the Johnson County Livable Communities website or talk to either one, Caroline or I. There's also Lynette's here, and then Bob Welch certainly is a longtime member as well. So there's opportunities out there for you to partake in a lot of different things. Also, before we do leave, I was sitting here thinking, one thing I did not mention was that for medical transportation is the Veterans Hospital, and how if you are a vet, that they have transportation services all over that help to get patients to their facilities for their medical. So that's one area that I hope all vets know, but sometimes they don't, or they don't know how to access that. And that's the other thing that I get, and I'm sure everybody else gets comments asking about where to go for those services. So that is something very helpful to the veterans in the area. And also the other large thing for any transportation issue is the fact that rural Johnson County has limitations that is quite different, and that makes it more difficult to get transportation to and from for those people. So that's something that, and I don't know what the answer is there, but that is something we have to work on.
Thank you, Rosemary. In addition to those committees, we have some openings on our policy board as well through Livable Communities. If you're interested in that, you can go to the Johnson County website and apply for that by June 5th. I do have some sheets that I've printed off so you can handwrite your application and submit that by June 5th. Any other comments that anybody would like to make from the panel? Darian.
If I could make just one more plug, if I haven't plugged the transit study enough, I want to just let you know that to look out for opportunities for public input for the Iowa City Transit Study. It's like I said, this summer, late summer, early fall is when things are going to begin in earnest, and there's going to be multiple public input opportunities along the way, and I would encourage you to get involved at every step of the process. So there will be structure, there will probably be open houses, there will be meetings, there will be ways to engage online or stay engaged with the city's Facebook page, but do keep an eye out for those opportunities, and we would love to hear your feedback. It's a really big opportunity to really remake the transit system in Iowa City for the next generation. So I encourage you to stay active.
Tom, you look like you want to say
Yeah,
something.
I
Go
got
ahead.
one more. Johnson County Seats currently is doing a rider survey, so riders that want to do a survey, answer some of the questions about seats, we have that on our webpage, or get a hold of one of the agencies and we can get you a rider survey too.
Thank you. Once again, just want to review, we do have some additional upcoming sessions for Older Americans Month, May 16th from 12 to 1:30 right here in the Coralville Public Library. AARP is doing Power of the 50-plus Voter. They're going to be talking about the new voter ID laws, making sure that everybody knows what they need to know so that they can vote. Early voting has begun. May 23rd, Powerful Tools and Finances for Caregivers. This is 12:30 to 2 p.m. This will be at the Johnson County Extension Office. May 31st, Community Dialogue. We're going to be talking about what makes Johnson County a livable community, and more importantly, what can we do to continue to improve it. That'll be from 5 to 6 p.m. at the Johnson County Health and Human Services Building. There is lunch, I should mention, for May 23rd. That seems to be a big deal, as well as May 16th. For information or to register for the events, they can contact me. My name's Jeff Kellbach at Johnson County Social Services. My phone number is 688-5842. I would give you my email, but that's too long. So just call me, or I can get, hopefully we'll be able to go onto the website. If you go to Johnson County, you'll be able to get that information as well. In addition, our Aging in Place has their series of forums going on through October. June 13th from 11:30 to 1, and all of these are 11:30 to 1. Aging in Place from the Eyes of the Housing Industry. These are all going to take place at ICAR, which is the Iowa City Area Association of Realtors, 847 Quarry Road. They can, and for all of these, they'll have lunch as well, and they can register with me once again. July 11th will be the Technology of Today and the Wave of the Future. August 8th, Dealing with the Stuff, Downsizing and Resources in the Community. September 12th, Resources in the Community to Help Stay at Home. And finally, October 10th, Your New Home, Levels of Care in the Community. Like I said, to register for any of those, just feel free to contact me. I do have sign-up sheets available for anybody here in the audience. I'd like to thank the panelists again for taking time out of their busy schedule. And appreciate Coral Vision for recording this and replaying it, and for everybody for attending. Thank you so much for coming.
Cookies.
Oh, take cookies and waters so we don't have to carry it out.
Much better. Be careful here.